Welcome back to Hardball. This is going to rip the scab off with all the conservatives watching. Is there room in the modern Republican Party any longer for someone who's even slightly an intellectual? Or has the GOP become a party that celebrates ignorance? Look at how the presidential candidates in the field proudly oppose mainstream scientific thought, like, well, global warming, evolution. Look at how they grow defensive when they get facts thrown about history. Jennifer Rubin, a conservative blogger for the Washington Post, I'm not sure she's that conservative, summed it up when she wrote yesterday, actually today, that some of the Republican Party seems to think ignorance is virtue and intelligence is a vice. She wrote, Republicans have sometimes mistaken anti-elitism with anti-smarts. It's one thing to heap scorn on liberal elites who parrot unsupportable leftist dogma, who show contempt for ordinary Americans' values. It's quite another to celebrate ignorance. Has Governor Perry shown himself to be knowledgeable and mature in these debates? Nope, he's just reveling in the scorn because he has taken mainstream and some conservative media criticism for confirmation that he really is doing something right. What is going on here? Michael Steele is a former chairman of the Republican National Committee and now an MSNBC analyst. And Alex Wagner, I think she's up in New York, is also an MSNBC analyst. I am struck by this. Here is Michelle Bachmann talking about the implications of getting these shots down in Texas that Governor Perry administered by executive order. It was early in the week on the Today Show, making some very controversial and sharp, unsubstantiated comments about the HPV vaccine. Let's watch.
I had a mother last night come up to me here in Tampa, Florida, after the debate. She told me that her little daughter took that vaccine, that injection, and she suffered from mental retardation thereafter.
And here's how she defended those comments later on Sean Hannity's radio show. Let's listen.
I am not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physician. All I was doing is reporting what this woman told me last night at the debate.
Reporting? What the hell does that mean? Parroting. Reporting as if I'm engaging in some sort of study, some sort of study group. Somebody comes up to me and says they're a truther. Yeah. Some nutcase comes up to me about Building 7, and I ignore them. She comes on television. It's just been reported to me that this was a conspiracy. That President George W. Bush blew up the World Trade Center. It's been reported to me.
It wasn't like that.
It isn't?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think what she was doing was trying to convey and relay to the audience, more broadly speaking, not just to you, Chris, the connection between the event that we were talking about.
But there is no connection.
If someone
no scientific connection.
This mother comes up to her.
There's never been a reported case of mental disturbance retardation.
But she doesn't know that. So
she doesn't. That's right.
I think that's a
she doesn't know that.
Right.
I think that's a stretch, saying she's trying to communicate some constituents' belief. I think that's fear-mongering about big government harming the ordinary Americans and intruding into their lives to the detriment of health. And I think, there's a very big difference, Chris, between being a populist and being intellectually irresponsible. And I think what Michelle Bachmann did that night was intellectually irresponsible.
I mean, you can argue whether or not she should have gone immediately without some level of verification or appreciation of what she was told. But you also have to understand the politics of the moment. After coming off the stage or before going on stage, having this conversation with a parent who was probably upset about the situation and telling her personal story. You don't know that. Now, what will verify all this is if the mother and the child come forward. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know, you've been on campaign trails, certainly I've been. People tell you a lot of things. The judgment call is, what do you then go speak about?
So if I yell that this building's on fire right now, and I'll just say,
that's a very different thing.
Exactly
Chris,
the same
if you
thing.
come up to me
She's on national television.
Chris, if you come up to me as a constituent and you say to me that I lost my job because this company fired me for this reason.
That's not the same as a scientific argument.
No, the point is whether it's a scientific argument.
Okay, let's take a look more at this. There's a strong pattern here, and it never ends. It's Governor Perry sitting with that little 8-year-old saying, you're smart enough to know the difference between evolution and creationism. You decide. Give me a break. Here's Perry speaking at Liberty University, a real seat of intellectualism in Virginia yesterday. That's the college founded by Jerry Falwell. And here are some self-deprecating comments he made to make the point we're trying to make unsuccessfully to Michael. The theme is, I'm no intellectual. It's like, he's a redneck if. Let's listen.
So I got my Webster's out. And I just looked up the word convocation so I'd make sure I kind of understood what I was walking into here. I actually went to college to be a veterinarian. And the dean of the veterinary school advised me that I actually wanted to be an animal science major. He said, son, I'm looking at your transcript. You want to be an animal science major. So, the fact of the matter is, 4 semesters of organic chemistry made a pilot out of me. I'm very proud to stand before you today and tell you I graduated in the top 10 in my graduating class of 13.
Well, there are qualifications for president.
He's having fun, for goodness sakes, and you're showing your intellectual hubris by talking.
You're talking
about the university. You're talking about this university. Well, there's a place of intellectualism. You don't know what those students are learning at that school. Go there and meet the kids.
Okay,
but set that aside for a moment. The governor is making the point that a lot of Republicans have to deal with all the time from the intellectual left, that we're somehow dumb, stupid, or inarticulate on these issues, and he's having fun with it.
He's running for president of the United States, claiming that ignorance is bliss.
Well, Barack Obama said there were 57 states. So what's your charge there?
That's not the same thing.
Oh, of course it's not the same.
I got to disagree here, Michael. I got to disagree with you on this one. I mean, I think that Rick Perry has an incredible personal story. I think that nobody should denigrate how far he's come, but I think that there's a real difference between that and pointing to doing badly in school at a time when American students are ranked 25th out of 34 in the world on science and math, and we are trying to move this country forward, and we are looking for someone to lead us there. And here's a guy making fun of doing bad in school and placing no emphasis on education and being aware of the world around you.
Well, we don't know what the rest of the speech was about to the room full of students, and maybe he did talk about education. And I know that I've talked about my own story at Johns Hopkins when I got expelled from the university, but got back into the university, and the rest of the story, as they say,
is it
unfolds.
A qualification? Is it a qualification that you can claim to this lack of knowledge as some strength? Bachman does it, he does it, they all do it. It's a clamoring attempt to identify with regular people by acting like you're stupider than they are.
It's not a clamoring attempt to identify with regular people to say you're stupid.
No, it started with George W. Bush and his father.
Again, you're showing intellectual arrogance by going to this point.
How come a guy who goes to the Greenwich Day School, driven to school by a chauffeur, George Herbert Walker Bush, he started this game saying business instead of business? Why do they mispronounce words so they can identify with little people? You know what they're doing.
They're not doing that.
It's relentless.
That's how the man talks. Come on. It's that southern Texas drawl.
I'll tell you right now in the world, we're trying to compete with the Chinese, the Indians who are busting their butt to beat us in science and technology. They realize, are the American people going to elect the guy who's proud of the fact he doesn't know anything? Are we going to get a couple generations break on America now?
You're taking this way out of proportion to where it is. It is not.
Michael,
nowhere
you're a charming fellow, and you're defending the indefensible.
I'm not trying to defend it. I'm trying to explain. That's what I do.
Did you get to be lieutenant governor by getting up? I got to move on. Up next, the hardball strategist. They're coming on to duke it out on the issues of importance to us that do matter intellectually.